Duncan Ferguson, here, take this, you son of a bitch. Fucking eat it. What's this? You want to learn how to cook some fucking food from Venice?
Have you heard the Michael Anthony show? Were you good mates with Tony Bourdain?
Yeah. And he was a mentor to me, a true mentor to me, in like every step of the way. Of steam, of coal, of men, of work, of drink, of time, and an age of knowledge passes with a lamp.
Go start around 4 or 5 minutes ago.
That's fine.
What brings you to London?
Press, meetings, and press meetings. Does it look all right?
Yeah.
It's not like a giant showcase of my crotch.
There you go.
All right. If I put this in here, does it look? It's just a battery, a backup battery for my phone. Does it mess up the line of the suit at all? All right.
Do you want to charge the phone? I can.
Oh no, I'm good. Thank you for asking. No, it's very thoughtful of you.
Water for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Of course, let me know anything else.
Sure. It's gonna come right around and punch me right in the mouth. Here it comes.
How's the audio going?
I told Dave he said.
Go ahead. Yeah. You want to speak with that real quick?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Appreciate you.
You probably know the videos I'm talking of, where they make the footballers slowly enunciate their names. And those excruciatingly cringe media videos.
I mean,
Nicholas Jackson.
yeah, well, that's modern football. It's an embarrassment.
Well, yeah. What's the montage? Game's gone. Game's gone. Game's
Are
gone.
we going to start the episode or what are we doing? Right, all right. Yes, did you see the fucking Tottenham United game of the weekend? There's
The last equalizer.
Well, I mean, United dominated the game, as you can see. That's United, Everton.
Dominated the game, I don't know. We have very different definitions of
Marcel,
domination.
Some real icons on the back of that. But no, United.
I guess I'm understanding who your team is.
Would you not say United were the better team?
On the day? No,
First
I think
half was.
first half, but I think, Guy Matual's in it.
Did you see James Maddison?
No, I didn't.
He was at the game with a YouTuber doing live reactions. So even when United scored, there's a YouTuber putting the camera in James Maddison's face and he's, upset. That's the end of football.
Who is the guy
Imagine
from
Darren
United?
Anderton doing that. But imagine if Darren Anderton was in the stand and Andy Cole scores against Tottenham.
I mean,
And this is journalists. YouTubers are, they're journalists in a way, aren't they? They're spreading information.
yeah, I mean, look, everything has become larger than itself, right? Going to get a meal at your favorite sandwich place used to just be like going to get a sandwich, and now you document it, you post it,
yeah, exactly.
You chronicle it because it's content. And what's the whole so I work, my agents are in the non-scripted division of my agency, but they used to say there's no more reality. We filmed it all, and look, United right now, you got how many great memes came out of Amarim when you guys got thrashed by Grimsby?
But I'm saying, all that shit for me means absolutely nothing.
The United
what
stand,
is a
that
meme?
kid with the I'm not cutting my hair until United win 5
But why
in a
is that
row.
known? Do you know what I'm saying?
Because of the absurdity of it, because of the state of United at the moment. And
Do you like social media?
I have to use it as a means of...
But you were a bit before social media, like when Man vs. Food's at its peak, 08, 09.
It was right on the cusp.
Like food reviewing was cool because you were the first mover doing it.
Well, I was blessed to have gotten in a little bit before then, and this mic is going to kill me.
Why is it moving on its own?
This is I don't know.
Has it stopped?
I don't know. It's just like an episode of Oz. I feel like a new inmate, and I don't like it. It's making me feel very uncomfortable.
Go on.
All right. I feel like I'm in a William Saliba video. Is this good here? Okay, thank you. No, I mean, so the funny thing was an executive from Travel Channel who handled, I guess, the precursor to a social media division said, "Oh, well, you're already on Twitter." And I said, "What is Twitter?" And she said, "There's an account. We had to get, someone had made a fake account, was posting all kinds of madness, but I never knew what it was."
How's it moving? Is my question.
I don't know. Is there a ghost of an
But it
audio
stops
engineer?
there, does it? Yeah, it stops there.
Is it too loud? No.
It's an interesting addition to the whole project.
It is. It's terrifying, though. It's a little bit like, I feel I've like strapped into a Geiger in Pacific Rim somehow. Like, but listen, I think now we know so much about, like, so we used to only know, this is ridiculous. We have to, no, it's all good. I could help you tighten it. I don't know where the, is this the balance here? It's all right, brother. It's super funny. Just as I'm talking to you, I feel like I'm in an episode of like Walking Dead. Something's creeping up.
That stopped.
That stopped. Beautiful. Anyway, I think now we know so much more about players. I remember my friend's a very big United supporter, from Stockport, massive United supporter. And he used to say things like, Lingard's better on Instagram than he's on the pitch. And
shit on both.
Regardless of,
He had a good December 2017, Jesse Lingard, and he had a good ability, FAU Cup winner.
But
social media ruined his career.
Yeah, but I think I have to use it. I think it's very beneficial in terms of an exchange of ideas, supporting businesses, putting places on the map, getting out a product, getting out the word for a new show.
Do you think it has disintegrated the intellect of the masses?
I'm going to have to quote Ricky Gervais on this one. The issue is you could have a genius standing next to an idiot, and because they're on the same platform, you don't know who is who. Like I think about in my folks and my grandparents' generation, certainly in America, and the means of mass communication were understandably controlled by the few. There was radio, which was under the hegemony of a few people, newspapers under the hegemony of a few people, and then eventually after 1950, there were television networks. Excuse me. And now someone can make up a vicious rumor about you, me, a team, a player, a food product, and suddenly it has a pipeline to mass dissemination regardless, and people move fast and break things. And so they'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission, and they just...
You were one of the early controversies when it came to like show business with the Thinspiration, then the reaction, all that shit. Did you understand the power of social media until that, or did afterwards give you this kind of insight into it?
I think I did, and it's one of the darkest periods that I certainly had, but not for the reasons people think. I think a lot of people will think that it's just like about, you said something ugly, you got reprimanded, hold that, and like 100% right? But you got to understand, the show that we were in process of making, it's like, okay, 21 restaurants lost their opportunity to be showcased, two camera people, a sound person, a production manager, a line producer, and a runner who had turned down other production work to work on this show, suddenly were out of work. Now, that was the hardest thing for me to bear, because the buck stopped with me, and it was my wildly poor judgment, because...
To go back at them or to use the hashtag?
Without unpacking the whole thing, because I thought it was a portmanteau of thin and inspiration and had been used to me in that way.
And also, who
Quite
cares?
simply put, when you are an executive producer or the face of a show, you can't react like an individual. And when you're in my position, especially when you have language in your contract that basically states like your behavior can't cast any disparaging light on a project, and it's a wise look. I understand where the network coming from too. They spent a lot of money to make these shows. You can't allow someone's fit of pique or a dirty mouth or a momentary rush of blood to the head make you make a decision that hurts a lot of people you love. My sound guy Eric, for example, he's been with me since season 1 of Man vs. Food, and I genuinely love him like a brother. And he was hospitalized after one of the shows we shot. He had gotten Guillain-Barré syndrome while on the road. And it felt like a family member. You know, we all responded like a family member. And to know that I had hurt people whose only job is to like support me and make me look good and make these shows and help these restaurants that I came from that world. So now with social media, I'm not perfect. And sometimes I hold forth on political things or on issues that mean something to me. And
It's not real, though. Do you ever have that thought? That
Of
this
course
is
it's
just
not.
nonsense.
Why do you think the ultimate comeback is touch grass? You know what I mean? Like, enough internet for you. I think that we live in a day and age like the United stand. Is that kid growing his hair till United win 5 in a row helping United, hurting United? It's subjective, but it's spectacle. And people go
You'd
for
hope the players
spectacle.
were above even knowing who he was. Do you know what I'm saying? Georgie Best didn't pay too much attention to journalists when they were waiting outside Mike Cuney and Boozer seeing how many pints he had that day, which is a much bigger allegation than just saying they haven't won yet. I'm not going to cut my hair, but the intellect of the players and the social media reliance of the players, they go home, they don't drink, they have huge beds, huge phones, huge iPads, and a wife who has a fake ass and fake lips, and she's only with them for the Instagram benefit of saying, I'm the footballer's wife and I can afford this handbag I did not pay for. So they're probably talking about it. And that sometimes makes me fall out of love with the game. But then you look at a game like United Tottenham and you see three at the back and you think about Heleno Herrera and you think about Matt Busby and you think about tactics and the fact that this is still the same jersey, it's the same concept, ball into net, but the culture surrounding it makes me fucking sick. So is there any way, if you do make a mistake on social media like you did, don't really think you did, it's a hashtag than a word, it means nothing, it's coding, it's fucking nothing got to do with anything you did. If anything, like the guy's dropped a huge amount of weight having been the food challenge guy. A lot of your critics said you advertise greed or bad food, and then publicly you then show people it was possible to lose the weight even as someone who loved food, and you put down a momentary hashtag and some freaks make a thing about it that you probably weren't aware of.
At the end of the day,
None of it's real. Enjoy the guy's entertainment, enjoy his fucking love of a steak sandwich, and enjoy his commentary on it.
I get it. I think that, now that's the thing, right? You would normally see an actor in a movie and what they thought about a conflict in the Middle East or what they thought about the economy or a particular politician. You never knew it unless they went out of their way. And in the past, you'd have to. Ultimately, because as you said, it's not real. It's a bunch of ones and zeros. And it's the way people, it's who you want to be perceived as. And obviously things are polished and edited and filtered and so on and so forth. And it's why we respond, I think, to certain videos. There was that one video of like two little kids greeting each other on the street in New York. And it's nothing stupendous, but it was the only like last vestige of real human contact. And I'll tell you what, knowing that there is that steep cliff of righteous anger, judgment, whatever, the thing that keeps me from the precipice as best I can is understanding that I am responsible for other people's well-being. And so like the crew of Adam Richman Eats Italy, the one I just finished shooting, right? You got 3 married people with kids like on the crew, and you had people that had mortgages and had home payments, and if I do something stupid, it all comes crashing down. Plus again, these restaurants, a lot of them that we choose, and I pride myself on choosing some pretty cool left of center restaurants, they don't have a marketing machine. They don't have PR people. They don't have people doing analytics and looking at algorithms. They're just a place making like really fucking great pasta or really preserving their grandmother's recipe. And then you go, so if I say something, whatever, that makes people inflamed, angry.
Yeah, so for professional reasons, you decide to not give in to that inner knowledge that the whole thing's a disgrace, and anyone who takes something seriously on
it has to be a tool. I mean, the bottom line is
But in your free time, when you're not working, like
I have to stay away from it because the trap is there. Like I actually used that screen time feature on my phone, and it made me sick to my stomach because so there was a sci-fi movie based on a Robin Cook novel in the 80s. Tell me you didn't date a lot in high school without telling me you didn't date a lot in high school. But it's called Looker. and there's a gun like that they have that sort of zaps you and you sort of lose time and you blink and you don't realize that you've been sort of dormant for a while. Social media to me, and I realized it when I had done the screen time feature, that just the ability to doom scroll and lose whole hours of your life, that was terrifying because I wasn't creating anything. I wasn't adding value, financial or otherwise. I wasn't losing weight. I love creating.
Did you date a lot in high school as a guy when you were young around Brooklyn? Were you interested in women or professional?
I had girlfriends and stuff.
And did you party?
I did in high school, as much as any kid in Brooklyn in 92, 88 to 92.
What was Brooklyn like growing up in 92 and that era?
It depended where you were. Some parts, it's crazy now, like that Bushwick is this like bougie hipster place. Like there were areas of Bushwick I remember vividly reading in the newspaper how they were pushing clawfoot tubs from the tops of buildings onto cop cars to keep them out, and they'd barricade streets and stuff. And now Bushwick is like super bougie. Williamsburg was where my great grandma lived, and it was riddled with asbestos. And it was there in Greenpoint, another hipster area, was like Polish immigrants.
Town, yeah.
And so
beautiful towns though, beautiful little
parts again. And also, to be fair, it was, for me as someone into hip hop, I was born in 74 in Brooklyn, New York. So to be there at the birthplace of something that became a movement, to take
Biggie's
an interest in it, it's pronounced Sty.
Yeah, Bed-Stuy.
So it's short for Stuyvesant, for Peter Stuyvesant, who was mayor of Manhattan, the whole thing. So it's Bed-Stuy. So Bed-Stuy is right near where I used to live. I just moved a couple of years ago. I live in the Bronx now.
Did you ever see Biggie live?
I saw him like doing selling mixtapes. He used to do stuff on Flatbush, but I never saw him perform live. I've seen a lot of really good shows, but not that one.
Well, you just walked by him on the street when he was selling mixtapes.
No, I was in a car. My boy shouted it out. A kid I went to high school with, because he used to go down to Flatbush.
He said, "There's your man Biggie Smalls. He's
Straight
the
up.
next big thing."
He goes, "Yo, is that big?" And no, because he was still, it was kind of like he said, call the crib, same number, same hood. And so if you went to downtown Brooklyn, I mean, there was an odds-on thing you would see a rapper as someone you knew. And I used to work at a Blockbuster Video, and the rapper Special Ed came in. And
where'd you go to high school?
A school called Midwood
Is that
High
where
School.
Woody Allen went?
Correct. Woody Allen, Wentworth Miller from Prison Break. Quite a few. I'm trying to remember. Eric Siegel, the writer, went there. Geraldo Rivera went there. I'm trying to remember.
So was Woody Allen like the hero growing up?
Not for me. I idolized. I was really. My dad put a guitar in my hand when I was 4, and I put it down for a bit and picked it back up in high school. So I loved MCA from the Beastie Boys, Adam Yauch. He went to Murrow High School, which is right next to us. So having that bit of tangibility, and 3 guys from Brooklyn, 2 of whom are named Adam, are conquering the musical world in a very meaningful way.
So it's the same thing as even like many comedians and actors. The first dream was to be in a band, and eventually food show. That kind of is would you view it as comedy, Man vs. Food? Is it in the comedy genre? Or is it
I think that I generally I crack jokes a lot. Maybe I don't know if it's a nervous habit or some kind of internal propensity to just sort of maybe keep it light. But
what you think joking kind of avoids an inner...
I read this quote, I think it was Socrates, who said life's a tragedy for a feeling person and a comedy for a thinking person. And I think sometimes it's easy to get a little solipsistic and a little myopic.
Even as you grow older and you've had success and you've kind of seen the ups and downs of people fucking you over, people kind of building you up, you've seen so much about human character, even at your age now. Do you still get the odd day where your life is very scary and very sad, or does it become funnier as you age?
No, I do believe my mom and I like to share really cool aphorisms, and they are lit my home and my office and my fridge. But I do believe that we are as happy as we make up our mind to be. And quite frankly, I learned this after my father passed when I was 23, that it is very easy. That's the trap, right? It is easy to get mired in self-pity or in fear and in doubt. And if you don't move, you don't feel your chains. Yeah, what's the point? I have a job to do. Like my mom's in her 70s. I want to be able to help her financially and otherwise, and that requires me moving forward and not sitting on my ass moping about stuff.
Your father got you into food and kind of taught you
I think the whole family.
Was it Chinatown? You went to a Chinese restaurant? I
Oh
still
yeah, that was
remember.
part of it. Yeah, one of my
And you
dads,
said it was disgusting, and he said, how many things you eat would they say are disgusting? Have
similar,
some respect.
not quite as Dublin cut and dry as that, but not that. I mean, yeah, there are a type of dim sum that were like congealed blood or chicken feet, and you go ew. And my father was always imbued upon me this notion of respect for respect, and I think he got that from being from his time in the army, and I think he just said you don't have to finish it, you have to at least try it. And to be fair, once I developed a friendship with Tony Bourdain, that was one of the things he always told me he appreciated. He saw me.
Were you good mates with Tony Bourdain?
Yeah. And he was a mentor to me, a true mentor to me in like every step of the way.
There's
like,
quotes about him kind of mocking Man vs. Food, but he's just joking, doing his kind of
100%.
irreverent.
To be
You
fair,
wanted him to die, that kind of stuff.
well, no, to be fair, one of the most profound moments of connection I had with him, Letterman had gone off on me and the show, and he had to go at the show, I guess is the euphemism I should be using. And
the goal would be wastage, celebration of greed.
no, I think his direct quote was, watch the fat guy eat till he founders like a racehorse. And, subtle, delicate, definitely not about me. And so he had already the week before had gone off on Rachel Ray, and he had a tirade on Rachel Ray and food culture, and was making fun of cupcake wars and stuff.
Do you like Letterman as a host, though?
I used to, but no one tells you, quite frankly, how to go from a consumer of pop culture to part of it, and that your heroes may one day shit on you, and it's happened in more than one occasion.
Who else?
John Oliver. And John Oliver, I met him at a Rangers game. He was wearing a Liverpool hat. I had a Spurs hat on, and he was shocked that I knew as much as I do about football. And we were talking, and I hadn't seen his show yet. I then watched last week tonight, and I was a rabid fan. And one of my favorite things to do when I came off the road, and I was in a rhythm where I was shooting about 280.
And would you have been heavily noticed in your peak, like getting on the tube, people asking for photos daily?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm very blessed that it still happens today. I mean, it's peak or otherwise. I did quite a few photos today and autographs and whatever. I mean, that's a blessing. But anyway, he was doing a segment on Everest and took umbrage with the fact that people often equate different things with Everest. And he then shows a video montage, 2/3 of which are not me. The clips from Guy Fieri, clips from Casey Webb, who hosted Man vs. Food after me. And then it ends with a quote of mine that I didn't, it was a VO thing that I honestly didn't write. It was for the New Orleans Oyster Challenge. And he makes a really hurtful joke at my expense. And I remember I was sitting there on my couch, and I was just devastated. And people feel because you're on TV or you have these opportunities, you can't have your feelings hurt. This isn't the domain of the week, whatever, screw that. If you like someone and they say something hurtful or that doesn't make you feel good or diminishes you. And what I was saying about Tony was, after he kind of threw me under the bus, I wrote an email to him, pretty heartfelt, after Letterman. He was on Letterman. He was sitting next to Letterman.
And he was slagging you with Letterman.
And he said, he was just like, it was the same jokes. He had his refrain, like people, he had his very significant refrains. Essentially, like you said, people actually wanting misfortune, that people in ISIS see the show and then makes them hate America and so on. And I wrote to him, and the code by which I live is a friendship isn't worth it to me if you will sacrifice a good friend for a good line. And the way I was raised is, if you're my boy, and I get your back till my bones collapse. It's just a code that I live by. And just because an opportunity presents
Is that
itself,
the Brooklyn talking, or is that
maybe it's having, you know, a grandfather that was in the army, an uncle, my father, but also just a code of loyalty. Maybe Brooklyn, I guess you don't want to be a mutt and like sell your boys down the river. But also I wrote to him and I said, look, maybe you're going to receive this email and go, what a whiny little bitch. And maybe I am, but I'm just saying that as much as I've looked up to you, I don't want to hang out. Like, I don't want to kick it with you if that's the vibe. And, you know, he laughed, and one of his producers said, I think you might have gotten one of the only apologies Tony's given. And he also made some very valid points. You know, Tony wasn't one to buckle, and he was 100% right. He said, the truth is, if I had defended you, I think almost definitely Letterman would have gone harder. And he said, and you do have to acknowledge that there's a bunch of his words, sick fucks, that probably are waiting for something bad to happen. And he said, I'll never forget, it was one of the best lessons. He said, and the more you get concerned about the chatter from that shit, you risk getting nibbled to death by ducks. And I think about that when things on social antagonize me, or, you know, and people do. They love, people are clever.
Do you reckon that wisdom came from his own knowledge? Do you reckon there was a man who he cared so much what people thought that that's made him learn to kind of feign not caring?
I know the Tony that I saw, ate meals with, hung out with, spoke to on the phone, whatever, asked advice from, who like Instagram, like social media, who you are here versus who you are with your family. You obviously present very strong, confident. You have to ask confrontational questions in the line of that which you do. But I am sure that there are things, situations, people, scenarios where you are vulnerable and softer, and you know, you are not the catalyst for the conversation or the topic at hand, and things just sort of occur to you. And I feel that when you are a host of a show, so much of what you do is propulsive and forward moving. I think the moment like this, that I sit back and I'm at your behest and you can say whatever you want, basically. I think Tony he's the figurehead of a show, the head of a production company, in many ways the head of kind of a movement that happened in food and food journalism. And it's a lot of responsibility. And I think you acutely, what did Andrew Zimmern once very articulately say, that we've all made the Faustian bargain. We all could be cooking at orphanages somewhere, but we are choosing to do this. I am not going to sit there and act like I'm some messianic deliverer of chili dogs and shit. Like,
it was about food, but he taught us lessons of love, culture, and societal acceptance, really. But you were still going to one in a million that I actually lived around the corner from in Austin, and
Nice.
Unbelievably authentic, and the pants to the waitresses, and they're doubting you. Whereas if you see a YouTuber now, everyone's on his side. They edit out every piece of negativity, and then you've like pizza reviewers. We're not cooking in orphanages. We're all kind of glorifying food.
yeah, and look,
But it must be a bit disgusting. Like that is like in comparison. Like
no,
Bourdain,
I'm jealous of their income. I will fully cop to that, but I'm being honest.
Would
with you.
Bourdain be jealous of the income? Like we went down to the Bangladeshi market there in Brick Lane, and then he goes back to the gap.
It's easy
of
not
the
to
woman
be jealous
cooking
of
for
an income when you have an income. Tony was doing very, very well. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. That it's easy. It's, you know, didn't Tom Shadyac, the director of like Ace Ventura and all this stuff, suddenly talk about, you know, getting rid of all possessions? Well, it's easy to do that when you've had this life of opulence. I feel, no, for me, I don't begrudge anyone's success. One of the things that was so disheartening and still proves to be disheartening in the food world or the food media space, especially in the beginning, there was a cattiness and a coldness and a competitiveness that permeated not all, but many interactions. And looking down your nose at someone's abilities or hosting style or recipes. And it's just grub, dude. You're serving food. And it's very easy to, at least as a young man who came from relative obscurity into this, whether it's buying your own hype or feeling confident, whereas perhaps you may not have. But also on top of that, like, this is the new vanguard. And Jack Goldberg with
What'd you
Jack's
make of Ramsey?
lovely human being, my
Lovely human being,
soccer
but
aid
like-
teammate. Ramsey he's a legend. And the thing
But the show, for example, the one where he goes up and does up people's kitchens and then pretends it's such a weak
Kitchen Nightmares, is that what it's called?
Yeah, where he goes in and then he talks to the camera and you can just tell he's got off a flight, doesn't give a fuck, comes in, does a rant outside a restaurant. It's cheap media. It doesn't have the effort that
No, because I think Gordon would be more mad, knowing him personally. He'd be more mad if I kissed his ass, but I also think he would feel disrespected were I to depict, I mean this in earnest, devoid of any agenda, right? He has in his just day-to-day, like the way, like a profound degree of elegance that I don't think people are aware of or fits his brand.
What do you mean by elegance?
Perfect example. We were given these really nice suits and pocket squares and whatnot for soccer aid, and we're walking the pitch and taking pictures and waving to people and stuff. And a little girl was like, "Gordon, I love you, this, and this." And everyone's like screaming and hollering at him and the idiot sandwich and all this. And he like I can't really quite recreate it, but sort of parted people for her. And he was like, "Yes, darling." And he called her over and his vocal timbre changed and he commanded so much respect. And she said something like sweet to him. And he gave her his handkerchief. And it was just done so elegantly. And even the way we interacted, we were walking, he walked me over to Huntsman where I was having a suit made. And we were walking through the streets. And if people came at him tough, he responded tough. You know, people like talked a bunch of shit, he would clap right back. But if other people spoke to him, so he didn't know I speak French. And so someone said something to him in French and he responded. He said, what I said was, and I told him in French, I said, "It's cool, I speak French, I know what you said." But remember, this is a guy who trained under Marco Pierre White. This is a guy who has traveled extensively and has built a media empire. And you don't do that devoid of some awareness of your brand. If Gordon can't do a poster of him like holding a child's hand and skipping through a field, he's got to be stern, surrounded by steel and fire and stuff. That's Gordon. It's the same way if I suddenly...
Does David Beckham make you sick? It turns my stomach.
Why?
Because the entire thing is put on. What's a knight?
Did he get knighted?
He just got knighted, but he's taking questions as if it matters.
Do you think that's your Irishness informing that?
We all know Beckham was a lot of our heroes when he takes a corner and he whipped his hair back and he overcame the 98 thing. But there's something about a hero who doesn't actually believe he's better than other people. That's what makes a real icon. That's what Anthony Bourdain was for me. That's what yeah.
But do you not think, and I ask you this in earnest, brand or otherwise, image or otherwise, sarong or no sarong?
That shit doesn't get me.
Wait a minute. Let me just ask this. Do you not think, and I happen to like him, and I'm unabashed, I don't know him.
I love his right foot. I love him too.
I'm just saying that do you not think, because the game that I have fallen in love with, again, having played it in my youth a lot, that he is very much responsible in many respects for the spread of that game. And
why has that spread benefited the hardcores? Because Pele,
I think
Bobby
one
Moore,
more person,
Georgie Best, they all went to the States years ago. And you guys were just saying it doesn't mimic militant life enough. We love NFL because there's the blitz, there's the move into territory, there's the defense, there's the offense. Americans had sport as the outpost war to make them kind of have a new hobby that wasn't violence.
Yeah, but that's changing.
So the only way soccer works is if we sell our arse and have absolutely no sense. And Messi goes to America and Saudi Arabia and you have a World Cup.
But I don't concur because the thing is, like, the most iconic American sport, baseball, Mark Twain famously said, you know, if it were any slower, it'd be considered farming.
It was a family event going to the Yankees.
All I'm saying is that I'm just telling you that in America, being American, football, soccer is predominantly the sport, and had been for decades, the sport of immigrants that were coming in, and there was no American foothold. If one more kid, male or female, is able to achieve fame, fortune, success, travel, whatever horizons they set for themselves, through a game that I love, that I genuinely love watching, at my thinnest, enjoy playing, whether it's him being in movies that have his name in the title, whether it's his being front and center for the London Olympics, whether it's him starting Miami, that if it gives another kid an outpost to play, funding to play, a chance to see Messi or Di Maria play, I'm well aware of the fact that the world considers the MLS the retirement league, the farmers league. I hear it all. I get it all in my mentions, no problem. But it's as an American who loves the game, who knows I'm facing an uphill climb against my own countrymen in loving the beautiful game, that it's what we have. And if you don't support it, if you see these Premier League and Serie A stars and La Liga stars when they come over, and they're like sleepwalking through the game because they're on a whole different level. Even if athletically they're slower or whatever, their football brain is just so incredible. So watching Tim Cahill play for New York Red Bulls with Thierry Henry, watching Zlatan play in the MLS.
You got to change that.
I like that you come in elbows high, man. What? Okay, fair enough. It's a very interesting style. I hear him hitting the loo. I might do the same. Oh, fuck yeah. He's playing this week. I forget where. I was just... Huh?
The public image?
No, just him. There's that app Bands in Town, and there's something like Gig Finder or something like that. But yeah, I was a big Sex Pistols fan.
Thanks. Yeah, the way you're talking about people not understanding what it feels like to be from nothing and then kind of making it easy to say. Do you think as a New Yorker and as someone in entertainment that the new New York mayor is going to come under criticism for that exact thing?
I think that there's going to be a lot of things. I think that...
Firstly, do you think the guy comes across as charismatic and intelligent?
Charismatic, without question. I think the less I say about the mayoral race, the better for my life. And I am doing it as a means of, yes, self-preservation and career protection, but also because, I live in that city. And
as someone who lives in the city, does the New York mayor play a big role in your day-to-day life? Or it's just a feeling around the place of what we stand for?
I think that this is a very different environment. It's a very different mayor. It is a very different environment into which he was elected. It's a very different economy and a different New York. And I think post-pandemic, I think it's a very different world. And I'm not trying to be glib and use the word different in a bunch of different sentences like I'm some sort of profound Maharishi. Like, the bottom line is tensions are running high ubiquitously over various things. Tensions and anger are simmering, and there's a kind of feral nature that I think people have, whether it's the way they interact online, in the streets, in traffic. I mean, how many times can you put on social media and see a road rage incident or this?
Growing up, I presume you would have viewed Trump as a bit of a fucking idiot, to use Irish language.
In New York, in the very beginning, as a kid, you don't know about the Bonwit Teller clocks. And I had lots of friends who lived in his dad's development in Brighton Beach called Trump Village. But no, in the 80s, it was the decade of excess and avarice. There's a reason why Patrick Bateman, the character in American Psycho, idolizes him, because he was kind of like Shakespeare, right? The perfect chronicle of the age. Wealth, glitter, the trappings of success. And whether or not whatever he had become as a politician or in his older life, he was sort of a personality. Not a figurehead it implies something much different. But there was a board game and there was a book, and his name was on everything. And whether it was on the boxing matches that you'd watch. But
he was viewed as that snaky, in it for himself character.
I mean, and again, I was a kid, so I
used to come on WWE when I was a kid and was shaving Vince McMahon's head.
Oh, I didn't. So I only watched it when it was the early days of WWF, before the
Bret
Wildlife. Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, Junkyard Dog, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jake the Snake Roberts, and those early action figures and watching it on Saturday with Mean Gene Okerlund.
I think I've lived in New York for maybe a combined 5 or 6 months,
Nice.
3
Where
month
about?
stints. Greenpoint twice, just near McCarran Park on both occasions.
So right on the Greenpoint Williamsburg changeover.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of the stuff you talked about.
Long Island City kind of in there.
Yeah, hipster people full of bullshit and all that stuff, but it's pretty relaxed. But the
Beautiful.
one thing I liked about it was optimism. Just
I don't
to
really
maximize-
associate him with New York anymore. I just, and it's not like an excommunication thing or anything to do with that. I think that there is a national identity that he has tapped into, but I don't really think of him as a New Yorker per se.
Did you nearly have to knock into the same people in Man vs. Food that Trump has knocked into to convince that he's in it for them and not himself?
I find a profound level of disgust with both of the major parties in my country, quite frankly. I did this interview with the New York Observer, and I talked to them about it, and they were saying, you are by definition, right, an Ivy-educated coastal elite. You're on television, you went to Yale, you live on one of the coasts.
You were part of that fraternity Zuckerberg was part of.
No, I was in AE Pi, but Mark went to Harvard.
Yeah, but it's not all linked. It's the same fraternity.
Oh, I didn't know.
amongst
Was
all-
he in AE Pi?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a predominantly Jewish fraternity.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Ours wasn't. But point is, he said, well, what do you feel that your why do you seem to have a level of acceptance? And I said, well, have you ever used the term flyover country? And he said, of course. And I said, well, even the fact that you said, of course, there is a tacit, there is an implicit, element of disrespect in that. Because you're basically saying your whole world, your whole purview, and everything you love, represent, and live in is an obstacle just for me to get where I'm going. And I love the heartland. I've driven across the country several times by myself. During the pandemic, someone in my family had cancer, and so I didn't want to get on a plane. And when I was filming Modern Marvels, I drove. And, I think everyone deserves to have a political figure speak to or for them. And I think the issue is an absence of acceptance of a difference of opinion, and then the rejection of the opinion is so violent. It's been eons since I heard anyone in a position of power echo a thought or a belief that I necessarily.
Do you like Bernie Sanders?
I keep going back to Grandma's rule at the dinner table about no religion, no politics. I just feel, for me, he is not. I have not found a profound degree of inspiration in he. Nor any of the candidates. It's been a very long time. Sometimes that there's a local candidate.
Are your
that's right where
family
the rubber
really
meets the
proud of you?
road.
Like grandma, your mother?
She's gone. Are they proud of me? Well, yeah, because I didn't come from anything. I was on, unemployment, and I struggled, and I didn't have any contacts.
But
in the
because you were
business.
Yale educated, and
But that I got in. I had loans. I had grants. I had scholarship. Like I didn't get.
you must have got good grades to get in.
Well, it's Yale drama. I always tell people, they go, "Oh, you must be smart," and I go, "No." Down the street, they're working on the cure for cancer. I'm rolling on the floor pretending to be an amoeba. I auditioned well, and I think you do have to be bright. You do.
So you wanted to be an actor.
I mean, I think to some degree, to perform, and I was an actor. I mean, I worked, I made a living, I supported myself.
But did you ever think of doing I'm moving to Hollywood stuff, or?
I did though. I went right out of Yale, and I went out for pilot season. I booked Joan of Arcadia. I booked some little roles on different shows, and but I've been always working in food to support my acting habit. Everything, every job. Like, but the thing in Man vs. Food, when I said it's work nearly every job from the counter to the kitchen, that's not bullshit. That's not bullshit. Bussing tables, cleaning kitchens, folding delivery menus, using a butter knife to take out the candles, working in kitchens, delivering things, putting menus under windshield wiper. Like you have to do it all.
So the show is completely an act of drama. It's the role of an actor.
I think people can tell if I'm full of shit. I think the simple fact is this. One of my early acting mentors, brilliant man by the name of John Jory from Actors Theatre of Louisville and Long Wharf Theatre, he once said, people will spend money, like a theater ticket can be very expensive. He said $75 is the arbitrary number he picked. No one's going to spend $75 on group stage. They all want the quarterfinal. They all want the championship match. And the thing is, you have to raise the stakes. Ultimately, whether or not a guy from Brooklyn eats a plate of nachos in Ann Arbor, Michigan, To quote Bogart, there's an amount of hill of beans in this world. But if I raise the stakes and I make it important, that it's important to me, then people invest. But when I extol the virtues of a food or a restaurant, I may be emphatic and I may be passionate, and I think my performative sensibility definitely informs the way I communicate on camera, but it always has to be real. Because the moment that there are restaurants that I will not name that we cut out of Man vs. Food because they were dirty or the food really wasn't good, and I could not bring myself to say, please take your families there. And it happens, right? These people don't deliberately set out to have a dirty or bad restaurant or bad food. It happens. And it's not my place to shoot them down. But I think that, you have to have a performer's sensibility when you're doing these big intros to give it a shape, to understand the act structure of a show, to understand how to get people to tune back in through a commercial.
How did you learn about mind versus body when you kind of had to have a job in which you were consuming so many calories and then losing? And then you've dropped 90 pounds, you've put on 90 pounds. Do you think just weight is metabolic or choice?
The rate at which you gain it has to do with your metabolism and your physiognomy. But categorically, I found out from when I did lose the weight for Soccer Aid, when I dieted from 2012 to 2014.
Did you ever think of doing it again?
I wanted to, but I don't think that they want your boy back. I don't know why.
But in general, outside of Soccer Aid,
losing the weight, 100%. The simple fact is, and I realize this, and I am hardly a physician, so nothing I'm saying is medical advice, but for me, losing weight was about stringing together a series of good choices. That's all it was. For me, it was, okay, I'm choosing to have a drink, but I can't cave in and have food late night. I'm going to eat this, even though everyone around me is eating that. I'm going to eat this, and I'm not going to ask for a bite of that shit. I'm gonna eat this. It's late. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat till noon. I'm exhausted, but I am going to get my ass on the treadmill. I'm tired as hell, but I am going to do these squats. And it's these choices that are the best distillation I heard is discipline is putting what you want ahead of what you want right now. And I think sometimes my id gets the better of me. Bro, I just finished shooting 2 months in Italy with some of the great, eating ragu bolognese from one of the best restaurants.
But is there any part of you when you're eating it going, although this tastes good, that is momentary, and even how well made it is, it's going into my gut and fuck this, I've excess energy. I'm hanging on to my body.
I gotta tell you, maybe back at the hotel room or after you've face fucked the most delicious pasta on the planet. But no, this is a very rare, special moment to be in Genoa with real Genovese basil. It is a singular experience. You go around once, and there's no guarantee I'll be back at this restaurant. I am going to be as present as I can. I'm going to enjoy this, take whatever steps I can to stave off the potentially adverse effects of that which I'm eating.
Are you kind of telling yourself the whole time, at 55, I'll go on a fast for 90 days?
No, I know that when I'm done shooting, but I also know if I'm eating.
Do you drop a lot of weight when you're in between shoots?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like Patty Pimblett. That's the goat of that, right? But I think, for example, if I'm eating and I'm eating something on set, usually I'll try to have a few bites. But if I really love it and I want to crush that food, I'll crush it, and then I just won't go out to dinner with the crew. Very often the hotels will have gyms, or I'll just pick a point 30 minutes away from the hotel. I'll walk there and walk back and just get an hour of steps in the day. And I find that as long as I know I'm not being cavalier, as long as I'm not filming lasagna and coming home and eating a packet of crisps and a bunch of chocolate and going to bed right after eating. But no, when I'm not filming, that's the time where I can do it because the calorie onslaught is just too profound.
And is marriage just too tough of a thing to have in a touring life? When you're on and off?
In terms of why I'm not married? No, I think that quite simply, no, because there's many people with whom I work that are married. I think whether it's a matter of I haven't met the right person or I've met a great person and I wasn't the right person at that time.
Is there any relationship we look back and go, I fucked that one up?
Several. I used to make a very big habit of beating up on myself. And I just don't see the point. Like, there's a difference between learning a lesson and realizing you could have done better and making an effort to do so. I think there's a huge difference between that and like flagellating yourself. Because ultimately, right, the past is immutable and you have zero effect on it. And arguably, one could argue that like the past is your recollection, which is always flawed.
It's how your cells are interpreting the experience. So you have to listen to them when they're saying, learn from that, remember that. Don't go for the same type of person. Don't make the same friend, or don't fall for the same shit professionally.
Listen, if
your cells are telling you, I will be allergic to that reaction.
I think I'm a child of divorce, so I think I am hesitant.
What age were you when your parents divorced?
Separated, I was 4, divorced by the time I was 7 and a half.
Is that, you think, what got you into food? Because every time you get your go with the child, it's kind of a reward thing. Coney Island,
not
one
at
day,
all.
Subway the next.
You know, the truth of the matter is, like, the one magical moment, my great aunt Anne lived upstairs from us. She taught me how to make a cheese omelet one morning.
She
They
actually
used to
lived
sleep
in the,
over.
the apartment upstairs, or what?
There was, yes, two family house.
Beautiful.
And she and my aunt Debbie, they were spinsters, you know, and they were both former teachers and wonderful human beings. Bright as a day is long.
And they've all moved on.
Yeah.
What do you make of the death thing? Cool with it? Happens, or still scared of it?
Mine or other people's? Well, like, I've lost my dad when I was about 23, and I've lost friends, some unexpectedly, some on 9/11. Like, and you know, I think, quite frankly, it depends on where I am in life. Granted, my dad's death had to do with stuff that happened in the hospital.
It was just negligence and...
No, he got a staph infection, and it led to some bad stuff. And it's an understood thing, and nothing I really care to unpack. But the upshot is that as I get older, or closer to the age where a parent died, you know, you obviously reckon with that, but you realize that fear doesn't prevent death, but it really does rob you of life. And having a mom that's older, who's my only family, yeah, I get protective, and yeah, I'm a fatalist. Like, every time I call, like, freak out, you know, with every ring if she does, until she picks up. And by the same token, because I know life is fleeting, because I lost my dad when he was young, because my mom's getting older, and a lot of my friends are losing parents, it's like, this just today, like, it's a fire under my ass, and it's a fear of wasting time, which brings us back to the social media thing, where I know I have to use it for work and then post and ghost, because I will stay there and scroll through, because I love football, for example. The algorithm is like, here you go, bitch. Here's that shit you like. Oh, you never saw these kicks from Pirlo. Oh, you never saw David Villa in the academy. You never saw this footage of, Messi baptizing Lamine Yamal before. Hey, little bitch, want to see Leighton Baines score a goal from the peak? This is Lee Cattermole. He's super. Oh, this is Dunk. They called him Big Dunk. Duncan Ferguson. Here, take this, you son of a bitch. Fucking eat it. What's this? You want to learn how to cook some fucking food from Venice? And, you know, the next thing you know, it's like the sun's gone down. Your, like, ass is atrophied. And I can't, you know, my shows are peripatetic in their travel. And
what is the stereotype? Jewish New Yorkers and an immense closeness to their mother.
I don't think it's ubiquitous. I know many guys. My mom, my life is a love letter to her. She rubbed 2 nickels together to make $1 my whole life. She worked so many extra jobs. She would leave so early, come back so late to make ends meet. We didn't live in a great area. We got mugged, like, coming home, like, at knife point. She worked in rough shit areas. She taught English as a second language to Russian immigrants. She taught kids who had disabilities and couldn't go to school. She did tutoring. She had taught after school. She had a regular job, and she did everything, and she moved mountains for me.
Would you call your mother every day?
I try to now, especially as she's gotten older, because I remember she had started calling my grandma every day. And I remember someone had said something to her saying, well, is it healthy? Do you need to? And my mom very articulately said, while I have a mom to talk to, I'm going to talk to her as much as I can. A friend of mine just lost a parent, and she said, record as much video of them talking. I seldom, if ever, delete any of her voicemails. But she's just an exemplary human being. I watched her hit her head on the glass ceiling myriad times. You know, a single mom in the 80s and the 90s, in education. You know millionaires fucking New York City school teachers are. So it was hard. And so now anything I can do to make her life better or easier or more luxurious or extravagant, I will always do that before doing a damn thing for myself. Always. I give her my last dime.
Do you think there's a Tottenham player ever who'd get into the Manchester United all-time 11?
Like,
every player ever to play for both clubs, we were to make an all-time team. Do you think any Tottenham player gets in?
I would say at their peak.
Yeah.
I think Gareth Bale.
Ahead of George Best or Ronaldo on each wing?
On the left wing.
Okay, yeah.
I'm fine. I'm good. If it's my time, I'm fine. My fucking time.
It had a George Best or Ronaldo on each wing. George Best won the Ballon d'Or. George Best won.
No one's taking anything away from George Best.
I agree that Bale is
is
slightly above Giggs. I'd agree with that. But he's not ahead of Best or Ronaldo, unfortunately.
What about Berbatov Spurs versus Berbatov United?
Berbatov wouldn't be in United's all-time fourth team. So, yeah. He won the Golden Boot at United, won 2 leagues.
You don't think Hoddle? You don't think Ricky Villa?
But unfortunately, you have Brian Robson, you have Paul Scholes.
Yeah, but I mean, you also have Luka Modric, dude.
But does he go down as a Spurs player?
Luka? Without question.
He goes down as a Spurs, but when all said and done.
Oh, because of his many years at Madrid?
And because of where he reached those heights. Like, was Modric at Spurs better than Keane, Robson, or Scholes? Probably not.
I mean, this is like such... there's no doubt that there have been dynasties that...
I mean, you could argue, you could have Kyle Walker, you could say Hugo Lloris. There's a lot of Sol Campbell. None of them will get in.
But there's also players that simply I've only seen little. So I've never seen Jimmy Greaves play. I've never seen Tommy Harmer play. I've never seen Garth Crooks play.
Jimmy Greaves, and I'm very glad you brought him up, is possibly the only player who we could even talk about getting into this
John
team.
White.
The problem with football is, and we talked about the growth of the audience in Americans, the Premier League was a negative invention and a positive invention for certain reasons. But the one thing that absolutely fucked the whole thing up when you talk about MLB, NBA, and NFL is that records don't count before the Premier League began. And you've people thinking that only a certain amount of people scored 100 Premier League goals, or that Alan Shearer was the top scorer in Premier League history. It's absolute nonsense. Peter Beardsley, 100 Premier League goals. Matt Letizia got more than the 101.
You don't think Harry Kane, though, will stand the test of time as one of the greatest strikers to ever kick a ball?
He's won nothing.
He just won with Bayern.
Yeah. So he's won 1 league in Germany in a Monopoly league.
In his first season.
In a second season. Embarrassingly enough for Harry Kane, Leverkusen.
Right, under Xabi, that's true.
Won their first. So,
and also, to be fair,
no,
right?
Jimmy Greaves is possibly the only one. Greaves or Dennis Law.
But you don't think that you are...
So you answered the question well, Jimmy Greaves. I'm very
glad you
don't think
you have Busby blindness, though? Like, you don't think that your own fandom of the Red Devils is obscuring the fact that there are... Like,
do you not think that your own fandom at all is blinding you? Because what I find what's strange about a lot of Tottenham fans, not only have they not won a league since 1961, the fact that Tottenham haven't been in an FA Cup final since 1991 is one of the most embarrassing stats in football. Not be in a final, not win it, to not be in an FA Cup final,
League Cup final,
European Cup
League
final, yeah, but the FA Cup final is the bar of consistency, really, isn't it? How many times do you pick up the cup?
Says who? That's hogwash, because there are so many great players that have never been within sniffing distance. And again, my metric for a great player and your metric for a great player may not be the same. But like, there were players I loved watching, like Grant Holt, like Stephen Fletcher, and I'll say it, like Carlton Cole, like Demba Ba, like Noble and Nolan, when they were clicking, Scotty Parker, both at West Ham and at Tottenham. And I think that look, to have the squad that Pochettino did, to have them, not just to have the squad, but to have the dressing room and to do nothing in 2 transfer windows is shocking.
And to give away a penalty that early on into a Champions League final. Where'd you watch it?
in Madrid, directly behind the fucking goal.
Were you
And
at
I
it?
watched it happen. Yeah.
You were at the game.
I could hear Sissoko. Mane was cutting behind him, said, "Watch him." And the ball comes in and hits his hand. I was right behind
What got
the
you
goal.
into Spurs? Any links to like the Jew
The
fan base? Or what?
Judaism, I knew that was coming.
No, but what was?
No, so you'll be happy to admit, when I was first asked what team I supported, what team I liked, I said United. It's the only team I really knew, and I love and will always love Wayne Rooney. Love the way he played, the tenacity with which he played, and the first Berbatov, I never knew. So remember, unless you had a friend with Setanta, you couldn't really see games. And then, I remember seeing Berbatov play, and like Nani. I love the way Patrice Evra played. And the fact that I could text Patrice Evra these days is crazy. Or the fact that I scored a goal off of Van der Sar in open play, and that he admitted it on Twitter.
What do you mean you scored a goal against Van der Sar?
We were during training for Soccer Aid, and Andrei Shevchenko was my strike partner. David Stacheva.
What position did you claim to Mourinho you played?
I played, dude.
Yeah, but what position did you put yourself down as on the form? Are you a midfielder or what?
No, I play false nine on the right.
Adam Richman is a false nine on the right. That's really good to know.
When I was like 190 pounds, and my legs that were used to pushing a much heavier dude, I pretty quick. And I was playing for Hollywood United pretty regularly.
What is Hollywood United?
It's a team that, if I'm not mistaken, Vinnie Jones, LaPaglia, and Jason Statham started. But it's a club, and you play in. There's a league in the LA area, and it's a lot of former D1 players and players that have.
But in order to play for Hollywood United, do you have to have an IMDb, or what's the situation?
No, hardly. But my coach and trainer played for them, and I showed up to a couple training sessions, and I first started playing at the back, which is where I did. But as I lost weight, I got much quicker, and I'm pretty good through the air. And I was always told by my British and Polish coaches that I had good feet for a big man, and I like the contact. Mourinho said I was like his Ivanovic from Chelsea, like the defender, and he liked that I was willing to put body on the line and clobber people.
A group of best friends still in Brooklyn that you go and kick out and drink some Miller Lights. Miller High Lights.
I'm blessed that I'm friends with a lot of friends. The kid that I took my first steps in his bedroom and I are still friends. No, I'm very blessed. And I will also say,
Are they 9 to 5 guys?
a lot of them are not conventional.
Do you ever find any
oldest
resentment
friends-
in the hometown from the fact that you actually made it from having fun?
No, because I think, number one, they know, my boys actually know how much hard work I do. That if people get reductive, like all you do is travel and eat. It's like I do quite a fucking lot more than that. But I think that they know the hustle. They also know that I didn't come from anything, and that no contacts, no connections, and I did this. But yeah, I mean, I have friends that I miss, and I'm very blessed. Like, remember what I told you about understanding the responsibility of how I comport myself publicly, here, social, whatever, is a bit bigger than me now. And like this show that Adam Richman Meets Italy, was 7 of us. We're traveling constantly together, around each other all the time. And if you're a dickhead, you will alienate people professionally and make your life miserable personally. And so, no, I've got plenty of friends. To be fair, the biggest issue is, as you said, a lot of my contemporaries are married, have small humans to take care of. So it's hard. Like when I come over to London, I still got my boys. We have our group chat, but they've procreated. They've moved to Bath and Kent and
How important is money?
Clapham.
Like, does it get to a point where if you're not responsible for a kid or a marriage or anything like that, like
I think money's important. Maybe being a little short-sighted about some things. I mean, I was very adamant about paying off my student loans and paying off my mom's bills and
the student
having no
loan
debt.
payment. Who the fuck does that in the street?
Yeah, Sally Mae. I ain't saying she a gold digger, but yeah, and Yale drama. I mean, it's crazy that it's a high risk, high reward profession, and yet you can spend between $70,000 and $90,000 for a Yale master's degree. It's staggering. But no, I think money is important. I think trying to find ancillary revenue streams.
But would you
another
take financial
act.
sacrifices in order to do a project you like?
It would vacillate. It would depend on the project. Quite frankly, doing shows in England is a profound expense for me. Like at a certain point, because I'm not an English citizen, I will pay to work here. You know, remember your boy Beckham? He got all that criticism apropos of not taking a salary at PSG, and everybody said, well, it was tax code, it was this, it was that. But it's a very the U.S. government, if they go, oh, he filmed in Minnesota for 3 days, Minnesota wants money. Oh, you filmed an episode in Connecticut for 2 days.
Okay.
Connecticut wants money. So it's a bear.
Do you think London's a good city for
I think
food?
London's an excellent city for
Do you
food.
think Dublin's a good city for food?
I lived above and worked in a pub for a little bit in Castle Blakeney between Tuam and Athenry, and learned how to properly pull pints and play snooker, and was shocked to hear a bunch of people with brogues like singing "I've Got Friends in Low Places," and met the guy that I played, my mentor, my proper mentor in college, a guy named Tim McDonough, came from Gertine in County Galway, and he wrote a play about his family's emigration, and I met the guy that I was based on, and I lived above his pub and pulled turf, and in the very beginning, before I went to the WB8's International School, and the very beginning I was in Donnybrook, I was at the first Moorhampton House. I got toe up from the flow up that first day. It was funny, the guy who ran the hostel saw me in St. Stephen's Green. I was fucked, and I was and the girl sat next to me on the flight, but she got out in Shannon. She told me, have you never had a battered sausage? And I said, no, I haven't. Oh, they're deadly. They're fucking great. And I said, all right, I'll try one. And I went to a place called Cherubs, and I had a battered sausage. I could just feel my heart say, what the fuck? I went to Bashoff's pubs. So my favorite pub in all of Dublin is Mulligan's on Poolbeg and Tara.
Yeah, where James Joyce used to drink. Iconic
Did he?
spot. Yeah.
Did he? But by the Liffey.
Yeah.
So I went there because I had heard about I'm going to get like emotional talking about this. So I have a lot of love for Ireland, partially because of my mentor. And then it was my first trip alone at just like a formative time in my life. And I've like memories of
Mulligan's Poolbeg Street's possibly the number one in terms of authenticity in,
Is it
in the
real?
city. Yeah.
So I was.
I don't think they've changed the interior in how many years.
There's that picture of the old guy that says "Computers, how are ye?" And Noel is the barman there. But I'll never forget this, and I'll put this on everything I own. 1996. I'm going around. It was when Michelle Williams, the swimmer, won. They called her the
Michelle
Irish torpedo.
Smith.
Michelle Smith, excuse me.
Yeah, and she
Michelle
got done.
Smith.
She got done for drugs then.
And I remember, and people came at me because I was working for the Olympics.
Atlanta
in
96.
I was working. So I went to Emory. I went to Clark Atlanta for my broadcast training. I was working for the Atlanta Olympics. So I had my Olympic stuff. And so I bore the ire of, even your own president says to leave her alone. And I remember the RTE building on the Liffey had the sign that said, well done, Michelle.
The Irish Times?
It had red letters. And then there was also one of the travelers was one of the boxing hopefuls for Ireland. And I remember being in the hostel and seeing like the fervor. I saw Declan, who was the guy in the van? Oh my God. He had a play called The Course at the Brendan O'Carroll, is that his name? He's in Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Yeah.
At the Gaiety, I saw that. But so where did I go? Obviously White Horse, obviously Oliver St. John Gogarty, Badass Cafe. Obviously you had to go to the Buttery. I went, but I love.
You need to go back and do a series in Dublin before all these fucking gay bags on Instagram start coming
Well,
out.
this is the truth, really quickly, because I know we're running out of time. So I loved W.B.H.'s poetry, and I'll get to finish.
Go.
Let me just give you. Can you give me just 2 or 3 more minutes? Yeah, please. Thanks. So I'm very vocal about saying Hawaii is my favorite place on earth, but the one place
Hawaii?
like I felt, just the nature, the people, the soul of the people, the smell of the air, the food, whatever, just phenomenal. But Ross's Point,
Sligo.
and that's where I lived. I lived in Sligo. Yeah, I lived on Crozon Downs with Bill and Bernadette Kerr, and I would walk to the Hawkswell Theatre every morning, cross the Garavogue, and go in. But Ross's Point was the first time like I was like aware of my place in the universe. I wasn't on any drugs or anything like this, but
What age were you here?
it just
What
shook
age
me
you
to
here?
my core. 22, 23. Shoot the Crows, great bar. It was a big Sheila and the Gig thing in the window.
So it just struck you in terms of what, just looking at the sea, hitting the cliffs, and just saying,
No, it was nighttime, and it was the curvature of space and satellites and this. And again, speaking to families first person who had emigrated from there, and also doing all the Yates stuff, going to Knocknarea and Ben Baldwin and hitchhiking up to Knocknarea and putting a rock there.
what do you mean hitchhiking? Actually thumb out stuff.
Yeah, and I love the fact that in Ireland they have to do this. I was a smoker at the time, and I loved John Player Blue, and I would go buy Patty at the off license, and I had a little thing of soda bread, Cashel blue cheese, some Bewley's, tea bags in my backpack. Is it Barry's?
Yeah, Barry's is the iconic breakfast restaurant.
Yes. Beshoff's is a fish and chip
Yeah.
place. But and then what's the Elephant and Castle is the
Elephant
wings.
Castle. Did you go to the Elephant Castle in Temple Bar?
Hell yeah, good wings. They have a lot of hatred for Justin Bieber, those guys. And I was
Why?
I don't know. They had a very, I don't want to.
Okay, go on. Anyway, you were what?
They had a nasty little sign about him going in. Not that I give a shit. Anyway, look. So I was writing poetry, and I have this journal, and I thought it would be cooler if I wrote these things. And I started giving. People would say, "What are you writing?" And I would tell them, and I would give strangers my pen and my book, and I've got all these poetries from all different people. And so I go in, and I'm sitting next to this huge mountain of a man, bald guy, Jack, like an older, big guy named Bob McGuirk. And he had worked for Rail Aaron for years. And he talked about the transition from coal to steam to gas and electric and this. And he got emotional. And he was a tough guy. And he's like, it got me all bollocks and whatever. But he was telling these things about how he's like, just a bit of gargle. And they would have like buckets of beer and they would share it. And he said, that, how the engine would get so hot you could see through it and things like this. And this guy, like you would look at him, you're like, if I ran into him in a dark alley, I would shit myself and then die in that order. And I passed him the pen. Wow. I passed him the pen, and he begins writing the most honest, open, almost like eulogy to the old way of railroading. And he was telling the story of, because I had written something about him when he went to the restaurant, and I let him read it. There was a guy they called, I think he said something like Sergeant Major. They had a name for him, and he used to smoke little rollies. And it was kind of like the little engine they could, like the cargo couldn't get through. They had to use an old engine. What do we give her, Sergeant Major? What did she have? And he tells this story with such pride in his eyes and tears. And he writes this thing about, I talked to Adam of Tuam, of Tour Ballylee, of Limerick, of Skellig, of Doolin, of whatever. And he does these things, and he writes, and it was a route. And I'll never forget the last line. He said, of steam, of coal, of men, of work, of drink, of time, and an age of knowledge passes with a lamp. And this was a monster of a man. And I was like this. Flash forward, I'm there in Dublin for the Web Summit. I drag my manager, this really sweet, very tough, brilliant lady who lunches, and she's a beast. And I bring her in this pub, and there's Bob McGuirk sitting at the end of the bar. So I walk in, I go, I beg your pardon, sir, are you Bob McGuirk? And he turns around like, I am Bob McGuirk. Like, who the fuck wants to know kind of thing. I'm like, sir, you used to work for Rail Aaron. I sat next to you in 1996. I was staying on Gardner Street Lower. And, and I remember I was so fucked. You're like, let me get you another saucer.
That love of people, that memory, and that actual interest in the culture is the reason why all these projects have worked so well. It's the reason why Man versus Food touch people, and it's the reason why I presume you'll continue to actually move people with some proper information.
You want to do something in Dublin together?
I'd love to do it.
I'm dead serious.
And it's been absolutely delighted to have you go into that detail about not only Ireland, but everything else you've been extremely open on and honest on. And
thanks, man.
the MA Show listeners will be delighted to hear from you. Thanks very much, Adam Richman.
Brother, thank you so much. Cheers. Bye, guys.
I'd love to do that longer. But
No, it's all good.